Alrighty. Welcome to our Missouri Open Door Technology Workshop for October. Today's topic is gift giving for loved ones with disabilities. My name is Angelina Alpert. I am a senior program area specialist at UMKC Institute for Human Development. We are going to start with some announcements for today, do a quick overview of Missouri No Wrong Door, set the stage for today's topic, and then get into some gift ideas. Okay, so the information for our 10th annual Charting a Life course showcase is live on our website. So it is going to be May 5th through 7th in Kansas City, Missouri. Early bird registration is now open, and that will be open until December 31st, and then it'll move over to regular registration rates. Our call for presenters is open. Those are to be submitted by November 21st. And then we also have our call for sponsors and exhibitors open as well. And once I pass it over to MoAT, I'll go ahead and send all the links for all of that as well. So a little bit about No Wrong Door. Um, it aims to transform the way people access services in the community. So it supports individuals and caregivers to make decisions on complete and accurate information about their options for anyone seeking long-term services and supports, regardless of age, income, or disability. We have a lot of key partners for our No Wrong Door initiative, one of which being Missouri Assistive Technology, which is who we partner with for this series. We have mentioned it on the last couple of series, but did want to share again that we did receive a new round of funding for No Wrong Door. Institute for Human Development and Department of Health and Senior Services are continuing to take the lead on that and keep that progress moving forward. A little bit about our Open Door series. Our goal with these is to open doors to integrated supports. So this here is our integrated support star, and you'll see on the next, well, actually, our goal is to integrate services into a person's support system. So in that center, we see the person, which every person exists within the context of their family and community. And then when a person is receiving formal government services, it sometimes unintentionally secludes them from the family and community that they want to be a part of. So we aim to integrate those services and supports into a person's life. That way they are able to take part in the family and community of their choosing. So I'll flip back to this one. Those 5 different types of services and supports are personal strengths and assets, relationships, technology, which is what we discussed during this series, community-based supports, and then eligibility specific, which we discussed during our Missouri Open Door Benefit series. So just to set the stage really quickly, charting the life course is a framework and set of tools to help you think differently about your vision of a good life, set high expectations, and integrate multiple types of supports. It helps to organize your ideas, visions, and goals, as well as problem solve, navigate, and advocate for supports. So at the bottom of the slide here, we have some of our icons that are associated with charting the life course. And on the far right-hand side are our 6 domains, which I'm going to talk just a little bit about. As we think about gift giving for anybody, I just wanted to make a point that people with disabilities, gift giving doesn't have to be any different. These are just some ideas that are adapted to make a hobby or a task easier for a person of interest that they already have. So the taxonomy kind of helps you think about all of those different areas that a person has in their life, whether it's their daily life and employment, their community living, their social and spirituality, their healthy living, things to do with advocacy and engagement, or safety and security. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Missouri Assisted Tech for some of the gift ideas. Whoops, I'm not sure which one of you is talking, but you're muted. Let's see.
There we go. That was
Yep.
me. I just forgot. All right. I was saying thank you, Angelina. I get to start the show. And I often think of myself as a practical guy. And so I am starting just with a few supports that are just for kind of people's daily living, not necessarily hobbies so much as just kind of interacting in general. Um, and so I am starting with amplifiers. So on the screen, I have a variety of amplifiers, and I I think these can be really helpful for keeping connections, for staying engaged. And so the different ones I have on here, um, I have the three at the top all have Bluetooth capability. The Be Here Access uh, can amplify ambient sounds, but it can also Bluetooth to a phone or even a television and provide that amplification for those things as well. The Be Here Smarto, same kind of thing. It is a personal amplifier with Bluetooth, so it has those phone functions right on the device. Actually, the Access has the functions. It goes around the neck, and then it has function buttons on the two devices that hang down. Um, the Smarto, you would plug in headphones and wear headphones with that. Maxi Pro, same thing. Different devices suit different people a little better. So the Maxi Pro, again, personal amplifier, but has that Bluetooth capability. All right, the three on the bottom are a little different. They are more like a one-trick pony. The Pocket Talker at $245 is a personal amplifier only. The benefit to this is very simple to use. It basically has one button to turn on and turn up. The Hear All, it's a Serene product, is a cell phone amplifier. So with this, you would connect it via Bluetooth to your phone and it would amplify those calls, and that's all it does. And the Cerionic TV amplifier does just what the name implies, and it amplifies the television. Sometimes that's great for an individual, sometimes it's great for family members because then they can move through the house without hearing the television throughout the entire home. Um, I've even had people that are trying to be considerate of their neighbors because they take their volume needed to be so high. So those are a few of those kinds of things that I think make great gifts. All right, let's move on to the next slide. So I had to, if I did hearing, I have to do vision. And really quick, when somebody has vision loss, kind of the three areas that are addressed are magnification, glare, and light. So I thought I would put a device for each. Um, Digital magnification, however great it is quite expensive. This is a smaller magnifier. I believe this is only a 3.5-inch screen, and it has a price tag of $650. It can do wonderful things like, magnify an image or a live image. You can manipulate the text, you can change the colors, you can, freeze it. There's lots of things it can do, but they are pricey. Glare. Glare is something that, is a little bit easier or at least less expensive to manage. Night drivers. I love the picture because it looks like you're buying a person, but really the images of a guy wearing night drivers. They can be relatively inexpensive, $30 and up for a quality pair. And so they would reduce glare. Um, Not that I'm encouraging people with significant vision loss to drive, but just to keep people feeling confident longer. And then light. Task lighting is can be essential for folks with vision loss. And so a task light will just spotlight to a particular task. All right, we can move on as we have lots to share today. But for vision loss, I wanted to add in some other things because just sometimes daily tasks can get difficult or intimidating, and to have a good life, as Angelina talked about, sometimes it is just the small things that make life easier. So there is a device called a knife brush, and if folks that are experiencing a variety of disabilities want to be able to maintain safety, there's different things out there, including a knife brush. And on the far side is a really inexpensive gift of sock clips. And so if sock sorting is difficult, or if there's somebody with a level of vision loss where they cannot see to match their socks, however, they would like to go to wherever they're going in their world with matching socks. Socks clips, you put both pair in one clip, throw them in the washer, throw them in the dryer. They're flexible. They keep the socks together. Simple. And they come in like a pack of 12. I just pictured 4 here. But there are other options that can even be free, like helping someone sign up for Wolfner Talking Books. And that is the icon in the middle. It is you can get a player where you get actual mailed audiobooks, or you can use the app. This is the icon for the app. Um, and you can download books. It is all free and it works really well. All right, I think I can move on. I think I have a couple more. Um, lots and there's so many things out there that can be just a great way to enhance someone's life for a gift. So I threw in a talking photo album. I think that is a great way to help memory, to I don't know, just for a variety of disabilities, or for anyone. You can get them disability specific from Enabling Devices for $90, or you can get them from Amazon for about $45. And there are many different types of talking photo albums. Smart home devices. I didn't picture a smart home device, but there are so many ways that smart home devices can really increase safety, increase somebody's access to almost anything. A smart home device and a smart plug can make turning on lights in other rooms safer. It can make, passage into those rooms and out of those rooms safer, because you can leave the light on until you get someplace else. You can turn up thermostats, unlock doors, so many device options. And then I added in a kind of another price tag one, but the Tovala Smart Oven. There was a kind of introductory $69 price, but I think they generally run around 200. And from what I see, they are a subscription, but there are a few other smart ovens out there. But with a subscription, you get a meal plan and get, 4 to 12 meals a week. And they make cooking very, very simple. Something that lots of folks who don't know how to cook or have trouble with meal prep could do independently. All right. Um, I have one more slide. I did add some sensory items because uh, I, I think these are great. So there's all kinds of fidgets. Currently, I have one of these little pop things in my hand, but there are so many kinds of fidgets that make great gifts for kids or for adults. Weighted blankets are one of those options that can really help a child or even an adult feel safe and comforted. And then I have an image of a cuddle swing, and this goes for about $40 on Amazon. Comes in a variety of colors, but really is just kind of like a big hug. The vibrating pillow is an option. Some individuals really like that vibrating feeling, and so the pillow is a really easy option there. And then my personal favorite. They are $80, but the swivel chair. If you ever have a chance to try one of these, do it. I mean, if you can get up and down from a low seat, they are a wild ride, but I found it very, very fun. All right, I am speeding through my section so I can hand it off to my coworkers.
All righty. Very good. Thank you, Scout. And good afternoon, everybody. David Baker with Missouri Assistive Technology here, and I have a handful of ideas that might make potential gifts for folks in this holiday season that is fast approaching upon us. And I am going to start. Um, a couple of the things that I am going to highlight today are pretty much designed for being used outside for camping, hiking, lots of outdoor things. And we all know that the more time we spend outside, the healthier we all are. And being outside, especially on a gorgeous fall day like today, is always enjoyable. So I stumbled across this here not too long ago, and I thought I would share it. And this is the first that I have ever seen of this particular type of device. But there are lots of reasons we need headlamps. We might use it when camping. We might use it if the power goes out. The list goes on and on and on. And so, just out of curiosity, I wondered if there was a voice-controlled headlamp out there, and I'll be gosh darned if there is. And so, I just thought that this was a wonderful evolution because if you've ever used a headlamp, first of all, they're kind of difficult to get on, but second of all, it's very hard to manipulate those buttons. So this particular voice-controlled headlight or headlamp uh, is completely hands-free. So I can turn it on, I can turn it off, I can adjust the brightness, and it's all done through simple voice commands. So for those with limited mobility or dexterity issues, you don't have to worry about the buttons at all. It's rechargeable, so don't have to worry about changing batteries when they run out. And so it also purports to have a very lightweight type of headband that is more comfortable and fits the majority of users. So again, not only useful for being outside and camping and participating in things after dark, but there are so many other types of situations where this would be really useful for somebody in an emergency situation to help with caregiving tasks, and I'm sure the list goes on. So I just thought that was one of the more interesting innovations that I have seen here in the last couple of years, and thought it had a lot of ways that it could be useful for folks and might make a nice gift for somebody who could benefit from this type of technology. Whoop. Moving on, let's see. Can somebody advance my slide? Oh, there we go. While we're on the theme of camping, there one of the things that I've been paying attention to over the last few years here in Missouri is how much progress we have seen in terms of increasing opportunities for people with disabilities to get out and participate, to go to the lake, to go on trails, to access the wonderful Department of Conservation sites that are around the state of Missouri. And we are also starting to see a really interesting evolution in terms of camping equipment and other important things that are part of the movement of getting more people outside. So this is the Eureka Freedom Tent, and it is designed. It is pretty much like a regular tent. It's very lightweight. It's going to be relatively easy to set up. It packs down into a pretty small footprint and is very portable. But what it is designed around the idea of providing accessibility to individuals who use wheelchairs. So it has a larger door than you would see on a normal tent. There's a little bit of a lowered threshold, so that the idea there is to increase the ability of somebody to enter and exit independently. So it also provides extra headroom and floor space, so it can accommodate somebody's wheelchair, or if you need a caregiver in the tent with you. and just lots of really nice little features about this that can open up opportunities for individuals who use wheelchairs or have a caregiver as part of their entourage when they're camping, be able to get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. So again, this is just one example. There are several other types of these accessible tents out there, and we are increasingly seeing more and more really kind of innovative types of tools out there to help people take advantage of the great outdoors. If we move on to the next slide, we will be looking kind of still on the theme of camping, though this wouldn't necessarily, again, have to be used on camping, but there are those individuals for whom regulating their body heat is a bit of an issue, and it might limit the opportunities they have to maybe go to a sporting event, to go camping, to just kind of hang out outside on a good crisp day. And so this is a heated sleeping bag pad. And so it can be used in a sleeping bag, you can put it in a chair, a number of different ways you can use it. But there are a variety of temperature levels. It's a rechargeable device using a rechargeable battery that can be plugged in with a USB. Number of different types of settings that you can put it at, so somebody can find that optimum temperature to keep them comfortable and in some cases safe. And it's, again, very lightweight, portable, can be moved around lots of different ways, very versatile in terms of the number of situations it can be used for, camping, as part of an emergency kit, travel, home use, the list goes on and on and on. So the camping heated sleeping bag pad is sort of the generic name. Again, there are a variety of these out there, and I just think they're kind of a nice little, relatively inexpensive item that has uses, again, for a variety of things, but I was thinking in particular when gifts that could be useful for somebody who wants to participate in more outdoor activities. Moving on to the next slide, we will kind of change gears. I spent a little bit of time kind of going down the rabbit hole of Etsy the other day just to kind of see what types of things might be available for folks with disabilities out there. And one of the evolutions in terms of options for people with disabilities over the last few years has been we're starting to see more types of clothing that are designed to be easier for people with disabilities to utilize. They generally kind of maybe are designed a little bit differently, have different types of clasps, reduce, have no buttons, no zippers, other kinds of ways of fastening them. And so I found this company called Ability Gear. And I'm highlighting here their poncho shrug, which I thought was very colorful and kind of fun. But they make a number of different types of clothing options for folks with disabilities. Usually their clothing options are kind of geared towards outer layers like the poncho, some jackets, those types of things. But it's one of several innovative companies out there that are, you're not going to find them in the store. You're probably going to find them on a website like Etsy. So this particular shrug it has a couple of layers, and it's made out of super soft fleece, and it has a hook and eye adjustable closure in the front, and it comes in a number of different sizes up to 3X. And so one of the other things that's kind of nice about this is they have designed it in a way so that it is what they refer to as the perfect length. They're thinking in particular the perfect length maybe for somebody who uses a wheelchair. So it's short enough to stay out of the way, doesn't get caught in the wheels or bunched up around the edges of the wheelchair or anything like that. So, you don't always have to go to a store. Sometimes going online and going to someplace like Etsy will reveal some really innovative and creative and fun and fashionable types of clothing options in particular for folks with disabilities. Moving on to the next slide, while we are on the idea of clothing, there has been, Scout was showing some things that are sort of around the same idea, with the fidget toys, and he mentioned the weighted blankets, and we are starting to see quite a few sensory friendly clothing options come out, and there are a number of companies. A lot of times you can find them online that are developing more robust clothing lines. So, it can be everything from, undershirts to socks and on and on and on. But we're also seeing sort of the evolution of some of the compression, the sensory friendly clothing that is a little bit more stylish and kind of fits in a little bit better in terms of matching somebody being able to match kind of the types of clothing their peers are wearing. So these types of clothing, as we're seeing pictured here with the young lady up against the wall there, is they're designed for comfort and providing a calming effect. So they're made out of things that are going to reduce the irritation around seams. They have no tags. They don't use any rough fabrics. They generally use soft, breathable fabrics. And they are also, like I've said earlier, providing compression and deep pressure options. They're also very flexible and stretchy, so that allows freedom of movement. And this was interesting to me that a lot of times they're sort of designed or made in neutral colors or simple designs. And the whole idea there is to sort of reduce overstimulation, which is, I hadn't really thought about that before in terms of clothing being overly stimulating. And then also like what we saw with the item before, the closures are designed in ways that kind of are in line with what is most useful for somebody who needs sensory friendly clothing. So in other words, they have magnetic snaps or elastic waistbands, which makes it easier, more comfortable, less irritating for the individual who might be using them. So, we've kind of moved from having the weighted blankets and some other sensory types of things into increasing options for clothing that is sensory friendly. And now we're starting to see sort of the evolution of the sensory friendly clothing into things that match and are a little more in line with everyday clothing that people are wearing, so that you're not just kind of sticking out, that you're kind of as trendy as everybody else around you, even if you benefit from wearing sensory friendly clothing. So I will move on to the next slide, which I think is one I am handing off. Oh, nope, I forgot about this. And I think our next speaker, I think Emily has a few things along this same line that she's going to talk about. Uh, Another area that we're seeing a sort of an evolution in is around traditional board games. We've seen all sorts of great things come out for video gamers in terms of accessibilities, controllers, and one thing and another that are designed for folks with disabilities to make it easier for them to utilize or to participate in video games. But we are also kind of seeing this evolution where people are starting to go back and they are taking traditional board games like Uno and Scrabble and Clue and a whole bunch of the traditional board games, which are great ways to spend time with family and friends over the holidays. They also make great gifts. And so, I couldn't even begin to list them all that are out there, but we're seeing versions that are large print. We're seeing versions of traditional games that have braille or tactile markings for folks that have low vision. They also have high contrast and color coded board pieces. In this particular instance, even though this is the braille or braille, what's the game here? Not Monopoly, the word game that I'm terrible.
Scrabble.
Scrabble, thank you so much for that assist there. So even though this particular version of Scrabble that you see illustrated on the right hand side is the Braille version. One of the other things I thought was kind of interesting about this was it also has little grids on it. So not only is somebody who's blind who reads Braille could benefit from this, but that also might be a way of somebody who has some mobility or some dexterity issues also being able to utilize this particular version of Braille that's out there. Again, we're seeing, it was hard for a long time. Sometimes in the past, we had to create accessible versions of these, but it's really nice to see these game companies paying more attention to accessibility and providing greater opportunities. So, regardless of disability, people have access to a version of the game that they are able to play equally with their non disabled peers. Yes, Scout, the grid acts like a key guard. That is a very good point. So with that, I believe I am handing it over to Emily.
Yes, and I focused a little bit on the hobby side of things first. I started with a knee lift for a sewing machine. This can be really useful if you have either limited dexterity or difficulty with fine motor tasks. And it can help lift the presser foot on a sewing machine that holds the fabric down and in one place. This allows you to use your knee to do that. And it can also reduce fatigue in the hands and wrists for someone who may be able to perform those movements, but can fatigue really easily if they are doing it repetitively. So this can allow people to continue with a hobby that they previously didn't need adaptations for. And it can also allow people to take up a new hobby like sewing that they may need an adaptation for. LED magnifiers can also be used for sewing. They can be used for reading, cross-stitching, embroidery, knitting, and crocheting, and any other hobbies that you might need magnification for or additional lighting. This example shows one clipped to the front of the sewing machine in a way that will help the person sewing read either the labels at the bottom of their sewing machine to show what they are measuring and to keep track of how their fabric is feeding through the machine. They can also be worn as a task lamp around your neck or clipped to a table, and then some of them are also freestanding. Ruler handles and grips can allow people to use quilting rulers for cutting fabric and measuring. These can be difficult to position because they are flat. They also can be difficult to hold in one place. So you can use the grips to apply a little bit of pressure without having to flatten your hand. I have seen some quilters in my quilting group use these when they've developed contractures and not been able to flatten their hand to hold the ruler steady. I have also seen them used to reposition the rulers without having to lift them up with the fingertips because the rulers are very thin and can be difficult to get a hold of. Pop sockets for phones can work for those very small rulers, like a 4-inch by 4-inch square. And these can reduce fatigue and improve positioning when measuring and cutting fabric. In watching my quilting group for the last 20 years, nobody was using these when I first started. And now that the average age in the group is about 85, I don't see anybody without ruler grips and handles. Switch adapted toys can be really fun for kids and allow them to activate toys even if they have limited fine motor skills or cannot squeeze like the paw of a stuffed dog toy that barks or the foot of an elephant that sings a song. And then they can also be used to activate musical toys, bubble machines, like I have pictured here on the left. And that can work for some older ages that maybe stuffed animals wouldn't be as fun for. And then battery interrupters, pictured on the far right, can be used to switch adapt existing toys, especially toys that perform only one function. And then switch adapted toys are fun just because they're toys, but using switches with toys can also be a stepping stone to using switch access for computers and tablets and even iPad games that kids can also really enjoy.
Okay, so I added some more things around some more hobbies. So here are two makeup companies that I came across. One is called Tilt Beauty and one is called Grip Beauty. Um, these are makeups that are typically in like a small cylinder that are just shaped differently to allow for easier grip. And they also don't roll when you set them down. So there's a couple different like makeups and then also brushes as well. Easy hold is another option as well. They can just slide onto any pre-existing makeup to make that grip easier. Um, Also added in loop earplugs. These are for noise cancellation. They're super tiny. As you can see, they lay completely flat in your ear, so you cannot see these at all. And they come in a super tiny carrying case. Which is nice to just add onto your keys. So they're kind of always with you for any loud events or anything. Um, Noise canceling headphones are also an option for over the ear as well, but these ones are a little bit more discreet and they have a couple of different options of like if you still want to be able to hear conversation or if you're using them for sleep. That way it blocks out different noise levels. These are some 3D printed options. David, I also go down Etsy rabbit holes all the time. So most of these can be found on Etsy. I believe I also saw a lot of these that had the download for the like print guide so that you could print them yourself. But there's a hands-free book holder, which is the top one. So it holds the book open flat, so that you don't have to use hands to read. So it'd be really good for cookbooks, so that you could see your recipe without making a mess of pages. I experience that way too often. We also have a book page holder. I've used one of these before as well. I like to read with one hand, but you get a cramp trying to hold the pages the right way. So this one is nice. You just stick your thumb in there and then it holds it open easier for you. And then the last one was kind of like a more fun one, I guess. They're tab buddies on Etsy. So they function to open a can tab, but they're all as super cute keychains. There's like a lot of zodiac wands and animals. Um, so they make for a cute accessory, but are functional as well. We also have some coloring books. View Plus has some pretty cool tactile coloring books. And then there's also options on Amazon for like thick lines coloring books, or ones that have like larger geometric shapes. Um, and then I have some adaptive utensils and tools. So for baking and cooking, we talk a lot about the color-coded chef. So everything is color-coded to follow along with the recipes easier. There's also a lot of adaptive cooking utensils. And then for gardening, there's adaptive gardening tools for grip and like wrist fatigue and raised gardening beds as options so that you're not having to bend down or kneel down and garden. And then the last thing I tossed in here was um, adaptive gift wrapping, which is not something you think about often, but being able to unwrap a gift and having some dexterity issues. So I'll play just a bit of this and see if I can turn the audio off so I can talk over her if it loads, hopefully. Oh, ad. Sorry, guys. FanDuel it is, I guess. Um, okay, so what she does is she takes a piece of ribbon, and there's a loop at either end of the ribbon. Um, and then she just wraps it around the gift. So she has a book, so it's fairly easy to wrap it around there. Um, but just wraps it around there and then wraps as she normally would. So then you end with the handles or loops from the ribbon still hanging out, so that then someone is able to just either use one finger or slide their hand into that loop, and then tear it open without having to like rip at the little pieces of paper, and deal with all of the tape. So I thought that was pretty cool. But that is all that we have for gift ideas. But we will open it up for any questions or reflections.
I love how there's four of us talking today, so we all compacted to get it in.
Yeah, this is David. There were a couple things that popped into the chat. Paige had shared with us that she uses one of the things that Emily had mentioned for crochet, in particular for very fine thread, and had mentioned that you found that really useful. If you have more to contribute or more you want to say on that, great. And then Nicole apparently is a user of the loop earplugs, so it's always good when we share these things. I love it if somebody has some personal experience and some personal feedback on some of these things that we might be highlighting. So hopefully somebody will go camping and get one of those nice Eureka tents and give us some feedback on that.
David, I loved the heated pad. I think for emergency backup, because there are some people, like you said, that have really difficulty regulating, and if your power goes out, what a great option to have something that's charged in the winter and there for you. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Thank you, Lori.
All right. I don't see any questions in the chat. So, oh wait, something else just came in. Here we go. Yes, there are a lot of earplugs before finding loop.
Yeah.
They are a lifesaver in grocery stores. They're great. They are kind of hard to get out sometimes though, Scout. I did see that. They are kind of hard sometimes, but with the hole on the end of it, it's not too bad. I see Paige tossed in an embroidery stand to hold cross stitch or embroidery loops, for those who have limited grip or post stroke. Awesome, thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah, those are great.
And
Yeah, if anybody else has anything they want to add in, do it.
the
Go ahead,
command
command.
hooks, yeah,
Sorry,
sorry,
Emily.
on the quilting rulers are really great because those can prevent them from slipping around too.
Nice.
This is Dave again. One thing I will, as I was looking at the URLs that Paige had put in the chat there for some of the items that that were being highlighted. One of the things I found that I thought was kind of an interesting thing were the number of things that I actually found on the Walmart website. Um, I don't know what that says about Walmart, but it seemed like they had a few more of these types of items than I found easily on Amazon. So I think, Amazon, or I would think Walmart has pretty good grip on its demographics, especially older folks that maybe skew a little bit more towards hobbies or outdoor activities.
Yeah, and Angelina had put up the Easy Hold, and they are now selling, I don't know if it's Easy Hold or a different version, but they're selling those in their back to school section, I heard.
Yeah. Uh, this was not an endorsement for Walmart,
No.
just aside, just an observation.
Okay, if anybody else has any ideas, feel free to toss them in, but I am going to go ahead and go to the next slide. We have the rest of our topics for 2025 for both of our mod series. Our benefit series is going to have its last one on November 12th, on Master Plan on Aging. And then our technology series will have the last one on November 19th. That one is moved up a week, and that will be on caregiving for memory loss. And then we will have our topics out for 2026 soon. If you have any suggestions of things that you would like to see us do mods on, please feel free to send any of us an email or a message. We'd love to see what you guys want to hear about. And just have the life course website if you wanted to see any of our tools. And then I have Scout and I's contact, but David and Emily are available as well. With that, I think we are set for today. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Scout, David, and Emily, for presenting. And we hope
And
to
if
see you
anybody
all in
has any
November.
questions, feel free to reach out. You can use my
Oh, it's wrong. I'm
that's
looking at
my
it and yep, that's
so reach
wrong.
out to Angelina and she'll forward it to us because my email is wrong.
Clearly, I typed mine first and then was still thinking about EDU.
Yes, we are mo-at.org if anybody wants to email S. Mary, D. Baker, or E. White. All right. Thanks, everybody.